Yes.
Okay, so I will ask you to mute your microphones. Thank you. So we can start. Welcome on behalf of PAF to a new webinar, the first one in English, I think. Is it the first one, Pablo? Yes, this year.
Yes.
Thank you, Chiche, Master Coach of FIH and trainer of FIH Academy. Thank you, Pablo and Gus, for facilitating this webinar today. Pablo, you will make your own presentation, same as Gus. And thank you for our umpires and umpires managers for being here. Thank you, Roger, also for being here. It's good that you are sharing with us this space. So, Pablo, the table
Thank
is
you,
yours.
Laura. Yes. Thank you everybody for being here. We have a different type of webinar today because it's the second time that Gus and I were going to run this. We did it with the Jamaican Hockey Federation. And basically, we don't center in either the umpire or the umpiring rules or the coaches. What we do is an interaction between umpires and coaches to help each other to make the game flow on a more consistent way. Basically, we're going to focus on some clips that Gus has selected and we have discussed about, where from my side, which is coaching, if we apply these technical corrections, we're going to help our players understand the rules better and avoid doing fouls that are sometimes totally avoidable. And from the umpiring side, Gus, I'll let you do your part.
From the umpiring side, we're going to look at things that may cause confusion, may cause a rift between our colleagues on the sidelines so that we can have a better dialogue, not just during the game, but after the game. So being able to look at things and say, it really is not a fault, it's just the way the game is played, the angles that we look at it, and the three-dimensional aspects of the game.
When we did it with Jamaica was really rewarding. For me, was really good to listen the umpire's opinion and how we can apply these rules in our training. And you know that sometimes, most of the times, coaches and players say the umpires are on that side and they don't want us to win. And on the other side, you hear the umpire saying the coaches and the players don't understand the rules, that they should read the rule books instead of complaining. So with this webinar, we're trying to gap that bridge between the different elements of hockey that sometimes we need to put together and we don't necessarily do it consistently in terms of working together. So I hope you enjoy it and you find it very useful. Today we have umpires managers, coaches, we have players. So it is specially dedicated for this four aspect of the community. We would love to include, if we have also some technical managers or officers to participate, we'll encourage your participation as well. So, Gus, let me do this first part and then you do the guidelines of the workshop, please. Give me 1 second, it's loading. So today we have me, myself, I'm Pablo Mendoza, I'm an FIH Hockey Academy educator and developer, and a Pan American Hockey Federation coach. I've been doing several of these webinars and workshops for the Pan Am Hockey Federation, and also I have been working in conducting some of the Level 1 and Level 2 FIH Academy courses. And we have Gus, who is an FIH Pan American Hockey International umpire and a PAF umpire manager. I think your last international engagement was umpiring the final match of the Pan Am Hockey Games, right? Pan American Games, not only hockey. All right, so on to you. Basic principles of the workshop.
Okay. Pablo approached me with this idea sometime later last year, and I said, it's a brilliant idea. It's something that we definitely need to do, and we need to do more of. And there were sort of some rules that I asked that we abide by. One of them is that this is not an evaluation of whether the call itself is right or wrong. What we might see is we've all received guidance as to what a foul should receive as far as a penalty, or if something is a foul or not. What we want to do is how can we all be more correct about it, and not just from an umpiring standpoint, but from a playing or coaching standpoint as well. So it's what can we do to make it more correct, and what can we do to continue to raise the level of play in the Pan American Hockey Federation. The other part of this is, Pablo, if you'll advance the slide. There we go. This is one perspective. We know the game is three-dimensional. There are multiple views to the game. Sometimes the best view, as the umpires here, is either from the stadium or from the sidelines or from the camera that's mounted behind the goal. Respect that as we look through the videos that we've selected, that sometimes this is the best angle and the umpire doesn't have this angle in that real time. We have a couple of things where we do go to review, and these other angles give us a much better view of the situation. And in those instances where we do, in countries and tournaments where we do have video review, we definitely want to use those tools that we have for us. So there's at least one situation later on where it's like the best view is not something that the umpire has, and it does potentially change what the call might be or how we feel about the situation. So those are two of the basic principles. And then, Pablo, if you'll take this one, because it's more on the playing side.
Sorry?
Because this is more on the playing side, the clips.
Okay. This is more for us. Okay,
Yeah.
So we go straight to the videos. This is all the slides that we actually prepare, because the richness of this is on this debate that we're going to have. Gus, out of all the plays that we review, is there one in particular you want to start with?
I think the way that we went through things this afternoon is perfect.
Sounds good. All right, so let's go with this one. Let me... To the participants, please pay attention that in order to be more specific here, I'm going to be calling out some names for you to participate. We would like to hear your thoughts. So this is the first play that Gus selected.
This play we wanted to look at because it's a cause of frustration, not just from the umpiring side, but the lack of consistency is very harsh, but it's something that in every game it happens at least one time. So if we can we've all seen it, and it's just one of those things that we all could do a better job of tidying up.
Let me ask some of the participants. Share, if you can open up your microphone, please.
Yes, Pablo, I know you will call me first.
Well, I have you on the C, so you're between the top on the list.
Okay.
Can you describe the play? Well, what do you think about this play? What is happening here?
Aerial ball not directly into space, so both players are attempting to make a play at it.
Okay, so they call this a foul for the red team. The white team is attacking. Is there anything that, for the defender, perhaps you would be able, as a coach, say, this is the way that we could do it?
Maybe I would have said if you didn't get first position, but it's a play that both are in the area, give the player chance to receive and then put pressure on them instead of jumping in. But I know sometimes you say first the ball and then they have to 5 meters. So that's the frustration part, because both are there at simultaneous time.
Okay, thank you. Diego, Barbas, do you want to add something from the umpiring side? Something that you can help the two players to understand and the coaches to understand how we can help them in this play.
Yes, hi Bob. I think for the umpires, we're trying to protect the players. So we try to avoid this situation about two players trying to play the ball in the same place. So maybe the umpires trying to blow the whistle before the situation get into. So that's the point of view of an umpire.
Could you explain here in this play what would be what do you think?
I think that the umpire must watch when the ball is raised, who is on the spot of where the ball is going to land, and then if you see two players trying to attempt to the ball, then you have to avoid that situation and blow the whistle level.
Okay, thank you. Gus?
Yeah, I think more often than not, the favor for this does go to the defense. Obviously, with the red in defense here, it just kind of re-illustrates that example. It's just because, as a tendency, more often than not, you have two players already in that space. So we're not, as umpires, looking at it to say, where's the separation? What can we do to give that attack player the fair chance at the ball?
Well, from the coaching side, if, for instance, perhaps not on the 25, because if this is evident on purpose, the red team, let's say that I'm coaching the red team, we might get a penalty corner against, but sometimes we have to interrupt this on purpose in order to not outside the 25, in order to avoid a counterattack, perhaps. So this is something that happens quite often, in my opinion, especially on a developmental stage, that some players learn to do the flick, but we don't teach the rule, and sometimes we don't even teach the receiving skills. If you can see it from the technical aspect, both of them, they extend the stick outside their head, extremely out, so it's difficult to control the ball. So from the technical aspect, I would say that this is something that needs to be trained in order to stop an area ball. But also we have the rule here. Are you here?
Pablo, one question for you as a hypothetical. This happens over and over again. As a coach, do you expect a penalty corner to come because of intent later on?
Yeah. Yes, I mean that's what I said before. If this, I wouldn't encourage this on the 25, but sometimes if we have to be a little bit dirty to put it somehow to stop a counterattack, some players do it, especially the ones that are more experienced, because they are able to take off the eyes from the ball and look their surroundings. But if we're in the 25 and we get a penalty corner out of this because it's an evident action, I cannot complain about this. It will be a right call, I believe. Let me see. An umpire. Sole. Hi, Sole.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm here. How are you?
We have very experimented umpires. I would like to ask you about this play, especially not at an Olympic level, but perhaps on a club level.
Okay. I think when we speak about this kind of situation, the main thing we need to consider and think about it. Can you hear me properly? Yes.
Yes.
Is if we make a decision that in cases like this one, we are going to blow for penalty corner. So to be consistent as an umpire, we need to every situation that happens between 25 and 25 should be green card. This situation should be penalty corner, and the same situation into the D should be so. If just to be consistent, because we are analyzing and we are thinking of the intention of the defender player. So if we are prepared, I used to talk to the people who are in the courses and even the younger umpires. to say, if you are prepared to do this, okay, I'm happy with that. But you need to be prepared to do the same thing in the whole pitch. And I don't see all the umpires doing that. I mean, green card between 25-25, penalty corner and a stroke. So for me, unless this situation happened once, twice, 3, 4 times, and you identify this kind of play as a tactic of a team who knows that the other team used to do a lot of aerials, and we say like if it was breakdown, things that trying to stop the other team play, unless you identify this kind of situation like that one, I think it's free hit. For me, it's free hit. I watched one of the games one opportunity where I was playing India men's against, I think it was Holland, and it happened 4 times. 4 times. Every time the Indians went to keep the ball, to get the ball coming from the aerial, one of the Dutch players went to intercept, the ball. So the 4th time, okay, the umpire blow for the penalty corner, because in that situation you already identify that kind of play as part of tactics of the teams trying to stop the other team play. Otherwise, I think free hit. This is my opinion.
Okay, good. Well, that's why I said sometimes I've seen it at club level, and we're talking about developmental and club level. I mean, this you get the sense of what the umpire is doing, and some experimental player might do it on purpose. And the problem comes, as you were saying, when there's no consistency, perhaps, then comes the complaint. Why it was just a free hit over there, and now it's a penalty corner, But I agree with what Gus asked me. If this was a penalty corner, would I complain? I think that if there's a constant intention, I don't think I could complain as a coach. Gus, any final thoughts on this play?
No.
Gus?
He needs to unmute his microphone.
Gus, your microphone.
Yep. Fair point. I think that we've looked at it from the coaches, the umpires, the umpire managers, and even the player standpoint. And I think that from the expectation is first few of these is absolutely just a simple foul. But if it is a repetitive behavior, if it is the intent, then we are looking to upgrade.
All right, let's move on to the next play. Okay, here we go. Gus.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. You can start with this play.
Need to show it.
I'm not showing it. Second. There we go.
Okay. So this is a special one. And again, we're not looking at this to criticize or critique the umpiring. This is what our expectation should be. This is what coaching can be done differently, and also from a playing standpoint. So I can tell you that the result of this play was just to play on. And there's 2 angles to this one. And we're going to spend some serious amount of time just looking at it from this way. And this is where we'll do our basis of discussion. The second angle of this, we will then go and ask the question whether or not your thought process has changed on it. So, Pablo, from a playing standpoint, do you have somebody in particular? I mean...
Yeah, Dave Cox. Dave Cox, are you there?
Yeah, yes, I am, Pablo. How are you, everyone?
How are you? Long time. What do you think about this play?
Okay, is a breakaway come down the right side, the goalkeeper comes in, and just from this angle, I think it's a little static, but it looks from the position of the stick of the goalkeeper and his body position that it may be an intentional foul on the ball carrier. So my initial intention, just for seeing it first time, is penalty stroke. I guess we've got to see it from the other angle and stuff because it's a little jittery just watching it on the replay. But my initial response when I first see it is definitely a penalty stroke.
Okay, now let me guide you into this. Because I made an open question before, I would like to give you a more specific question. You as a coach, when you go back to the locker room or the training session, is there something that you could speak to your goalkeeper and the team defense in order to avoid that situation where, as you said, it might have been a penalty stroke?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. No, from her angle coming out, her body position, I mean, she was definitely going to commit to go low. So I would try to tell her to you go fast, but then to go smaller steps to be in more control of your body. So any shift that the ball carrier makes, you can more react to. But when she's coming such a high space, going in a direct line like that, any pull left or right, she becomes quite vulnerable, and then she's prone to cause some kind of foul. So that's more first in goalkeeper telling to be a little more controlled. You want to be aggressive, but it's control aggression in that situation to make sure she's not cause a deliberate foul.
Good. Thank you, Dave. Any other coach, not umpire, please. Any other coach that you would say I would speak also these things with my team, or I will also add something? Who would like to give it a try? Any other coach?
If I can, Pablo.
Yes. Who is this?
Ralph Watson.
Ralph Watson, how are you? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm fine. First, let me say a pleasant good evening, not only to yourself, but the other members. Gus, how are you? I haven't seen you for about 10 years. Nice to see you again. You realize I've grown a beard since. I agreed mostly with Dave. From this angle, the defense for sure was taken off guard because the last line of defense now is the keeper. All the defenders are in front of the ball. And as Dave said, the keeper made a straight run with big steps. And if a keeper is making big steps, they do not have control of their body. So they can easily be taken either left or right. So I would encourage my keeper to take small steps. You go quickly, but then as you become in vicinity with the player and the ball, you make smaller steps so you have more control of your body. And I hope I'm saying it correctly because it's a little static, but the steps are really too large from my perspective, and therefore she had no control. So I would encourage the keeper in this situation, yes, try to get space from to the ball covered quickly, but then as you come into the vicinity of the ball, maintain control of your body with smaller steps.
Good. Thank you, Ralph. Okay, I'm going to ask one last question because both of you focus on the goalie, and I agree with what you say. Marianela, you play as a defender, so if there's anything that you would coordinate with the goalkeeper and your teammate over here?
Yeah, I mean, the goalkeeper will usually take a decision, like call out to the defense to make a call, but in this case, all the defense are running towards the ball and are quite behind rather than the ones like trying to put themselves in front and gain some time to avoid the goalkeeper from making the decision. I mean, maybe the goalkeeper told them not to move and he will take care, but I think there was no communication with the defense.
Okay, good point. Thank you, Marianela. Gus, do you want to speak to the umpires or give your umpire point of view?
No, because Ridge has a few clips later on. Ridge, you want to walk through from an umpiring standpoint, kind of what you're looking for, as well as what you would probably end up with a result for this.
I think we don't have Rich.
He was on just a second ago.
Would you like to choose someone else in the meantime?
Sure, Enku.
Hi, good night. Yeah, good night, everyone.
There you are.
Can you,
Got you.
yeah, can you guys hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
Good. Like everyone has said before, it's very choppy to me, the video, so I don't want to say much about it, but I understand where the coaches are coming from with the advice to the goalkeeper, but I cannot tell whether the goalkeeper makes contact with the ball because of how the video is playing for me. And as a umpire's point of view, I really trying to ascertain, intent as well, because there are a lot of attackers that will come and make a meal of that because the goalkeeper has come and committed. The goalkeeper may play the ball and all these kind of things, and then the attacker just goes to the ground, and an excited umpire is easily fooled into giving an easy penalty corner, or even if you just don't have a good angle with it. So I agree definitely with what the coaches have been saying so far and these kind of things. Wearing the two hats myself, but when the umpire hat, that is one of the things that I would be really, really trying to focus on, to make sure that at the instance of where the players come together, I have a really good view and I'm really certain about what happens with the ball and the player.
Guys, your mic is off.
You can see it about every third time where the choppiness kind of goes to a different spot, but the attacker does play it just before the goalkeeper gets to it. So she does pop it up a little bit. And so I think from this angle, I think we've seen everything. Pablo, if you want to switch to the next clip so we can see the camera angle from behind.
Give me 1 second, Chiche. You wrote to me privately. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Pablo. I think it's interesting because I think from the coaching point of view, there is a different style of goalies. Some of them prefer to attack the opponent. Sometimes some goalies prefer to wait for the decision of the opponent. Okay, so there is nothing wrong with both. That just is a decision, but basically, I think one of the, maybe, I'm not sure if can be a principle for some team, but that's only my opinion. If the opponent has plenty control of the ball, and this is the case, I think even when there are two opponents very close to the attacker has plenty control of the ball. I can watch perfectly where is the goalie. In this case, the goalie should be at the goal rather than to attack the opponent, right? Because we can assume that the opponent with plenty control of the ball, they can decide that they can watch when the goal is coming, can eliminate or can push the ball to one of the angles. And in this case, the goalie decided to go very, very quick. I don't think that she is able to control to control the action because it's too hard and too big a speed to stop and to do something with, right? So that's just a comment, but there is nothing wrong because I respect the decision of the goalkeeper. But from the coaching point of view, I think the coach has to decide, okay, some principles. If the opponent has plenty control of the ball, stay in the cage. If the opponent is pressured by teammates, you can go because the opponent is supposed to have to watch the ball, right? That's the comment, right? Thank you, Pablo.
Thank you. Let's watch it from another angle, and if you allow me, I will start from the technical part as a coach, because I also, after we spoke this afternoon, I sent it to one of my friends, Nacho Ledesma, who is coaching the goalkeepers of Argentina, of all the national teams. So every time we find a play like this, we talk about it. We both think that it's a penalty stroke, no doubt on that. Because, well, you can explain that later. The technical thing I'm going to say is this. We both believe that from the angle from the opponent that was coming, surrounded by 2 or 3 white players, we think that the goalkeeper, or the order that we'll give to the goalkeeper on the feedback is, from that angle, come out, try to slow down the speed of the opponent, don't rush in, don't make such a big steps like Ralph and Dave said, because you don't have control of your body. And additionally, and I will say that this is one of the perhaps the worst technical mistake out of this play, she's sliding outside. Her upper body is going to the baseline, to the left, her legs are staying inside, and she's also lifting the legs. Dive inside, like in a penalty corner when the old time when there was a straight hit. Slide inside with the stick inside the field, so you have a better reach of with your body to cover that ball, rather than rushing out and sliding, making almost a football soccer tackle. Okay? And additionally, finally, sorry to finish, her slide is with the legs in front of her body. Therefore, the chances of, with this technical slide, avoiding doing a penalty stroke is a little bit difficult. And then again, from the tactical point, slow down the speed of the attack because there's a narrow angle. Doesn't seem that the player has full control of the ball, that she's reaching out 50-50, but you also have defenders that are around you. So if from a tactical aspect you defend together as a group, you might have bigger chances of stopping this attack.
And I think that follows in nicely with what Peter Chase has just said. The recovering defender does not force the player with the ball to keep her head down. Also force the player to the left. So that's just something that Peter has noted in the chat. I think from this angle, you can definitely see that the ball is over the keeper's pad, and the leg comes up off the floor. So from the standpoint of Enku, now that you've seen this angle, any thoughts on, again, choppiness aside?
Yeah, so for me now is like I will agree with Cheche now. So for me, it's clearer that the attacker is in full control of the ball. And what Pablo has said is also very key to me, because in the other video, I don't know if it's my computer or my connection, I couldn't see very much. But now you can see that the goalkeeper slides, like Pablo said, with her legs inside the field, and there's no kind of anything from the team to try to force the outside. Like, most coaches will say protect the center. And both the players and the goalkeeper haven't acted in any way to try to force the impetus away from the center with the ball. They've actually given the center more open. Both the defender and the goalkeeper have let the player take the center of the field. And so for me, from an umpire's standpoint, and I think you can see the umpire in the frame there, then that's really clear that the goalkeeper, although making an attempt for the ball, in my opinion, the intent is that if I don't get the ball, I'll definitely impede the player. So yeah, I come down then on the side there with strokes. Goalkeeper looks like me when I was goalkeeping.
So since you're a goalkeeper, would you expect a card on top of this?
Goalkeepers never expect a card, but I wouldn't argue with one.
Well, I was going to add something to that, guys. The curious thing is that the two teams, they react like nothing happened, So here comes also from one side, the ones that should be receiving the stroke, and also the defender side. From the other side, they don't realize that this could be a situation. So here's part of this webinar, how we can work together in order to understand the rules in a better way, how the rules should be applied. Go ahead, Gus, your umpiring part.
No, I think that, from the standpoint of like Enku said, and he was able to say from, because we've all seen Enku play goalkeeper play. But like a card is not unwarranted here, and it's not a simple green card. To the level of it, it's I'm going to win this battle no matter what. And so from that standpoint, do not, as an umpire, I would suggest not to be talked out of a personal penalty on top of the team penalty on this.
Okay, moving on to the next.
Yep.
And for this one, I would like some of the younger players in this audience that we have here. We have Madison, Riley, Maggie.
Pablo,
Yep.
before we move on, can I ask a question, please? Because this is a perfect example of something that just came to mind.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I want us to discuss, and I'd like to hear the other coaches' ideas about this as well, is how do we feel when an umpire, as Pablo pointed out in this situation, injects themselves into a situation where it seems like the consensus is nothing happened. So, like Pablo rightly noted, like there are 22 people on the field, and we can almost see all of them in the picture, and nobody thinks anything happens. And I just want to get a small side conversation about, I guess, what we would call natural justice.
Okay, so the question is exactly what? Sorry, I got lost a little bit. How as coaches,
Yeah.
how would react to this?
How do we feel when, regardless of the call, everyone thinks it's a non-issue? The umpire makes a correct decision, but the general consensus of natural justice is that, yeah, let's just go on. I mean, there are a lot of times when umpires make a decision 100% correct, but it is deemed excessive.
I get it now. Good question. Again, I think that this is the thing that we need to do more constantly, even in our own clubs or schools, working with umpires. Because, the players are inside the field. The coaches are outside, and the umpires have a different angle of view, and the same with the people on the stands. So, sometimes we see things from different angles that we think that they're one thing and they're not. I try to remain calm, and I have to, it happened. Let's move on. I have to focus on the game, and perhaps when I get home or later in the club, I watch the video and I said, okay, this happened. Moving on. I wouldn't stop and make a scene and stop the game or try to do, I don't know, scream loud or complain. But it's just me. I don't know if that makes sense. Chiche?
Yes, I think, fortunately, I think the way is changing a little bit in this action. A couple of years ago, maybe 10 years ago, nothing happened in play on because it was assumed that the goalie have to destroy the attacker, and nothing happened. And this was a real fashion. It was accepted that the goalie have to be free to play, and the goalie is a defender, can play with the stick and can play with the legs, okay? But have to attack the opponent within the rule. In this case, appears to be that the goalie want to destroy the opponent. At this speed, can control the ball. It is impossible at the speed of the goalie just to say, okay, I will try to go for the ball, not for the opponent. I think the intention of the goalie, I go for the opponent, the stick, and the ball. Everybody, everything, I think it's a compensation. I think it's a very, very good coaching point of view because it's our responsibility to teach the goalie how to proceed in this case, right? Thank you.
And I think Bill has an interesting point.
Yes,
Bill has an interesting point as well, where he's saying if the goalkeeper stays home, the recovering defense comes in and takes a greater role.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the tactical planning.
Pablo, I wanted to add something.
Yes, Sole.
Yeah, from the umpiring side, of course. I never will be a coach. If you look at the position of the umpire in the clip that you show, I think it shows you that in the one when the goalkeeper slides.
But which angle?
The last one.
Okay, hold on. Go ahead.
Yes, I think the position of the umpire is really, really crucial because that umpire is running from behind is in the wrong position because doesn't see. If you look back now, you can see where the umpire is with the turquoise shirt. So that umpire is running from behind. So if you are a coach, I'm not saying this is the correct decision or it's wrong or correct. What I'm saying is, if you are and you are watching the game and you have an umpire who is seeing the situation from behind, okay, you will trust that umpire very differently if the umpire is in the right position. What I mean?
I think that's a very fair point, Soledad.
Sorry, my dog is here. I can't kill him yet.
He wants to participate too.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I will try soon. So what I'm trying to say is, I am a coach. I am seeing this, and the umpire is very close to the post and close to even to the goalkeeper, and that umpire makes a mistake, and you will trust more if that umpire is in the right position, rather than if the umpire is running 20 meters behind the situation. This is what I wanted to explain from the umpire side. I think coaches sometimes are not happy with this either, because it's very hard to trust someone who is making decisions running from 20 meters behind. I'm trying to think as a coach.
It's a really good point, because when you said that, I'm thinking if I'm standing where the coaches are on the sidelines, I'm basically on the same line of sight as the umpire. The only difference is that the umpire is closer to the play than me, but the angle is the same. So if I see something outside from behind the umpire, like, you didn't see that, I see it from the same place as you are. But if the umpire is closer, I would say I have to trust the umpire because he's near the play, and I'm not.
Exactly. Yeah, this is what I mean. So
well, and what's interesting is
see the situation how the coach is here to see. So yeah.
To that point, Sole, and Keely's kind of chimed in as well. I think what's interesting is, especially at this level that this game is being played at, a lot of these coaches, maybe not at this particular match, but at ones slightly lower than this, the coaches have no expectations of what the umpiring position is meant to be. So they wouldn't know if a player is, or if an umpire is out of position. And that's something maybe that we take away for another conversation, Pablo, is, in bringing the game together, is where's better places for the umpires to be, so that you as a coach have those expectations that the decisions are going to be more right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Good points. Thank you, everybody. Let's move to the next clip. And again, I would like to ask some of the younger players that we have here today, which at least I have Madison, Riley, and Maggie. Are you there, girls?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, hello. Who is this?
This is Madison.
Okay, hello, Madison. Let's look at this play. And here, hold on now. What do you think about this as a player? It's a young blue playing. So the yellow player, hold on, not now, the blue player, go ahead.
So the blue player that's coming from behind?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would definitely, if it happens like multiple times in a game, I feel like that would definitely be able to give, like, you could give a card for that, but like the first time, maybe just a warning and say that, like, that shouldn't happen. Or if it's going on like with both teams and it's a continuous thing, definitely give it a card eventually.
Okay. Let me ask you a few things as well. And if Riley and Maggie wants to participate as well, please. Would there be a different way to tackle this ball? Let's pretend that you are the player in blue. You're running from behind. Is there any way to tackle the ball without making a foul? Especially like this, of course.
Well, this is Maggie, and I'm just chiming in.
Go ahead.
I think if a player is coming from behind, that there needs to be a shave for just the ball, but if not, if they're running back, they need to get their feet around.
Good. Okay. Good point. So you're talking
Pablo
about
and I are kind of giggling.
right?
Maggie, Pablo and I are kind of giggling because that's exactly what he told me when we met this afternoon to go over these clips. He goes, the shave is the best option for this play. So that's why the two of us are kind of smiling at your response.
Well, yep, she made a good point. I mean, shaving, perhaps a very soft jab from behind, sliding the stick on the ground, or even trying to move the player towards another teammate so you can make a 1 versus 2 defense, for sure. Gus, from the umpiring side, I mean, we're looking here, we're watching a very young age group, the players. I think that Madison said something that I will give a warning, perhaps at this level could be something like that, but I think that is also part of the education that we need to explain why this is not something that later on can happen, right?
Right. Alex, do you want to take this one?
Hey, am I the only Alex?
Yes, you are.
I missed the question, but I was hearing the discussion before that on the shave.
So from a management standpoint, as an umpire, especially considering the level, how do you not only penalize but kind of stop this behavior from continuing, realizing that it's not an elite level at this point?
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, for me, again, of course, we're looking at a choppy video, but it looks to be pretty clear that it's a breakdown stick tackle there. It's on the halfway line, so as we're starting a counterattack. So those are all kinds of things that I think go into consideration as well. And then, of course, the time of the game would be the biggest factor for how you're going to manage this situation. I think if it's early on and no one seems fussed, then we can go get away with a very long, hard whistle so that people get the point, because these kinds of actions can very quickly escalate into more. If people, like especially if the attacker, in this case, number 17, if he takes it the wrong way, we could have a bigger problem on our hands. So yeah, I would want to stamp this out right away. At a good adult level, I think you could quite comfortably go green right off the bat here. But I don't know the skill level of these players here. Might be looking for just that long hard whistle.
Well, I would like to add just one thing from the umpiring side, guys, because it just came to my head. The past 3 years when I was in Argentina, I was coaching the B team of my club, San Fernando. And the second team of that B line was a team that we had players that they were having a lot of weaknesses in the technical aspect. So some fouls, not like this one, but some evident fouls they would make. And there were a time of two that Soledad umpired our team, and perhaps she had to give a green card or a yellow card for a play like this. But she also took a few seconds to explain why that was a yellow or a green card. And then later on after the game, because we had Sole and we had also Caro de la Fuente, she was there also umpiring. And after the game, when we would talk to the players outside the field, they said, no, she told me that I did this. What do you think? And we started discussing, but that helped us coaches to make the players understand why they shouldn't do these things. Sole, I don't know if you remember a few experiences like this.
Yes, I do. I remember. Yeah, I remember your players too. Yeah, always try to keep good contact and good chats your game. Yeah. I think it helps the players to understand why the umpire we blow this or we don't blow that. I think one of the main things in the tackle is that the players don't realize that many times they are in the wrong position to make the tackle. So they think that they can make the tackle or any tackling from any position, and they don't know the rules. Unlucky, they don't know the rules, and they don't understand that some tackles may seem that they are okay or they look good, but they are not good. So I think when you try to talk to them and explain that what is the right position where they have to be or where they have to come from to start the tackle and make the tackle, helps the game and helps also the coaches to understand what are you blowing and what are you blowing the floor. So yeah, well, I like that style, so I think it helps the game. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pablo, can I make a comment?
Yeah, but let me get back to Gus. Sorry, because I interrupted
Okay.
him before. It just came this thing to my head. Go ahead, Gus.
Yeah, no, and I think the combination of what you and Soledad were starting to say or have said is that maybe in the higher level games we're going, we call time show card, and it happens right away. In these lower level games where we're doing development, we're doing umpire development as well. Maybe take a few extra seconds to communicate better with the players, with your colleagues, so that there's a better understanding of not just what the game expectations are, but what your expectations are and what the coaches expect. So I think that there's that, especially at the younger levels, the newer generations of players, we do need to spend more time in a dialogue, if you will.
Yes, Peter.
I also wanted to mention that as coaches, we have to be careful the terms that we use in these situations. I've heard some persons shout to young players in games to break down the play, and players misunderstand and misinterpret these statements. So it also comes sometimes from spectators and even their own players. I think we have to be also very careful what we say to players and how we put it over, how we communicate to them, so that they don't end up misinterpreting what you require them to do.
Thank you, Peter. Yes. Anybody else would like to add something to this clip before we move to the next one? Or Gus, if you want to conclude?
I think we're good on this one.
Okay. Can we leave the penalty corner and the penalty stroke for the end, so we keep on doing some open field plays?
Yes. Good idea.
Okay. Am I sharing the screen? No, I'm not sharing the screen. Wrong command. Okay. Here we go. Why don't you start this time, Gus? Microphone.
I'm giggling because this is actually me umpiring. I think. No, this is the second one. Defensive player comes in from way behind and does the nudge, helps the attack player see where the penalty spot might be at a much closer angle, and then throws her hand up like I didn't mean to do it. Fairly simple. I know what my expectations of the umpire is. I know what my expectations are if I'm on the match of both players. But in this particular instance, I also know what the end result was and why I got the clip. So go ahead with from the standpoint of a coach and what your expectations are, not just from what you'd expect for the end result to be when the whistle does blow, but what you would want your players to do from that defensive standpoint.
Okay, let me open to the coaches actually, so I don't start. Which coach would like to comment on this play? Open mic. Coach or player, sorry, because we also have players. Yeah. I'm just trying to pull out the list here so I can get other coaches or players to participate. But in the meantime, Akim, would you like to comment on this play?
Good night, everyone. Sorry to be late. Just watching the clip is a bit choppy on my end. I think it's a bit of clumsiness from the defender, and the striker made a meal of it as well. I would advise my defender to be mindful of how they're closing the player down, especially from the wrong side or the weaker side of the play. So my advice would be more towards my defender to be a bit more control in that situation.
Okay, good. Thank you. Any other coach or player? Jean Paul, I see you here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So,
What are your thoughts?
well, for mine, for mine, I would say that the defender knows exactly what she was doing because I guess she was breaking on the play, and then she raised her hand like it was an accident. But I don't know what the umpire would have said in this case, but I think the defender was wrong for her play.
Okay,
That's what I
good.
have to say.
All right. From my point, I think that the defender coming from behind, extending the right hand outside the stick, as you can see it, and not slowing down the space makes a collision between two players. That the only result is a yellow player is going to fly to the ground because she already slowed down the speed. So in this case, again, I think that could be a tactical decision between the team. Teacher, you mentioned something about the principles. I would like to give the mic to you about that. On the way that we defend together, situations like this could be planned, similar to the play before where it was a penalty stroke, where instead of having one player rushing into there to take the tackle out of desperation, perhaps there's a plan involving that. Chiche?
Well, first of all, I think we as coaches, we have a big tendency of coaching 70% offense, less than 30% defense. Logically, the team is generally a human being, is more preparing to attack and to have a fun with the ball in possession, rather than to go for the ball, to recover the ball. You need technical and mental effort is bigger than when you have the ball in possession. And of course, it's a really three players are going strike to one player, and a speed unacceptable for this situation because you are into the D, could be penalty stroke. But this is typical situation, not in all level. In top level, they are different. But I think it's coaching problem. And perhaps what happened in this situation, we are in the bench and say, hey, why? Why? It wasn't fault because the opponent fell down. No. Our fault is our fault because if you analyze the speed of the team player going for the ball, it's really unacceptable. And this is 100% coaching point.
Okay, thank you. Gus, back to you.
I've got a kind of a side conversation going on. So, I think, Keely, let's just open it up here as to expectations from the umpiring standpoint.
Okay, sorry, let's see if I can figure out. Oh, yeah, there's my video. Okay. Sorry, it's a lot more fun to do it on the side. Just kidding. I think clearly for me, one of the things I'm concerned about is the players go down and you can see the attacker is appealing and you look at her angle where she's looking and the umpire is quite wide. And again, just like Solly rightly pointed out in the last clip, and this is something that coaches and players maybe miss out on, is that a poor technique from an umpire can lead to an incorrect decision. And from the angle the umpire was very likely at, they wouldn't have seen enough of this shove the way that we do from behind the goal. And had that umpire been in a better position, anticipating the potential body contact, they would have made what was, I think, the more correct decision here, which would be a stroke and a card. Potentially a card, not always a card. So that's sort of what I see in terms of mechanics or the technical issues going on here.
What about the technique of the defender, even though she's lunging in? Is her stick anywhere near attempting to play the ball?
It's hard for me to see at this angle. I'm concerned about the proximity of their feet. It looks to me like their feet are actually, like, the shove is one thing, but it's actually the feet that get caught up, which is what takes the attacker down. And when a player is taken down, the ball carrier is taken down because of body contact, we have to take a very dim view of that. that is potentially very dangerous. So that's why I would tend to a card here.
Yeah.
But I can see situations where it would be. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Or Chiche, can I interject for 1 minute? Just one slight thing.
Go ahead. Go, Roger. I was about to call you, actually. I'm writing down the
No,
names here, but yeah,
no, sorry,
you're in my list.
don't call me. Don't call me. Here,
No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, please, go.
because you had indicated initially that you're dealing with lower level umpires or the games at lower level in terms of like what we saw initially about 2 games back. And some of my experiences, and I think that's I want to interject and have people think about. You have experienced umpires and umpires who are not that experienced. And based on the experience, they gather wealth of information to judge situations because they have gotten the experience of over a number of games. The younger umpires would not have had that kind of experience, and they would either told certain things in their training that you should give a red card, this should be a green card. And many times, a lot of these decisions are based on gut feelings until you get experience. And we tend to use all these words to the umpires without giving them a guide or explanation of what it means. We use words like intentional or not intentional, deliberate as opposed to not deliberate, clumsy, accidental, and those words are subjective. If you do not give them an example for them to use that as a guide in making decisions. And many times, their subjective decisions are based on their understanding of what this word means. The more experience you get, you tend to hone your skills in actually refining what those words means. And basically, a lot of the time is under this big word of foreseeable in any of the things to make a decision. So I think where many times we are at fault by speaking to the umpires in this particular way without actually clarifying what do you mean by this word or an example of what they do, of what this should be. So therefore, what comes about is a gut feeling with the limited experience they have. So that's basically I want to put into the mix when you're speaking about it, because many times the decisions or the angles you're speaking about, what you all see is because of your experience. You make a judgment, a good judgment, based on the amount of experience you have in these particular situations, as opposed to a young umpire. So that's one of the things, if in training talk or speaking to umpires, you try to clarify some of these key points to them, either an example or something where they could identify with their decision making, you'll see it will improve. That's basically what I want to say or throw into you in terms of this thing.
Good point, Roger.
I guess anything else from that play? Thank you, Roger. It makes, yeah, I understand. There's a split-second decision that you have to make, and yeah, I agree with what you said. Gus, anything else?
No, next one.
Okay, we're going to go to this one. Again, so let's start with the coaches and players. Press play. There we go. Get ready, please, Kershi and Nigel, please, to comment on this play. Nigel, if you want to start with this as a coach. We lost Nigel. He was here before. Kershi. I'm saying the Kershi Montenegro. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name the right way. Sorry about that. Okay, I call another one. Dwayne. Dwayne, Scott. Well, I think I lost my participants, guys. On to you.
Okay, so let's just flip to one of the umpires. Whit, since you joined us, won't ask you from the playing standpoint because you're a goalkeeper, but from an umpiring standpoint, what are you seeing?
Gus, you got kind of choppy there. What were you?
I was asking for, not from your playing standpoint and what your expectations would be, but from your umpiring standpoint, what are you seeing in this clip right there about the midline with the white player on the ball?
I'm not seeing any clip at all. I'm sorry.
I think that something is failing on my end. Hold on, give me 1 second.
I was thinking maybe you were setting me up for a trick question, Gus.
No.
No, I'll save that for later.
Laura?
I can see it.
Yo lo veo.
But, okay.
I can see it.
Okay, then whoever can see it and can comment, Peter, you can start because half of my software is frozen. So, Peter, if you
Okay. From a coaching point of view, I can look at both sides. The team on the in white. I'm not sure what the player is waiting on. They could have passed the ball a long time ago. There's absolutely no reason for them to wait. You'll be grateful that I think it said 10-minute yellow. You'll be grateful for that. And on the other hand, the player in black had, even though there was a rash tackle, and they got away with it because they missed everything, they kind of did their job initially. They forced the player to the outside, and all they had to do was recover. I would be very upset with that player for getting a silly card. It was stupid. There's absolutely no reason to do that.
Okay. Sorry, Peter. I agree with what you say. However, as Chiche said before, as coaches, it's our responsibility that these players don't do that. So we need to train them not to do that. And then, as you were saying, if you spend your time training and this player keeps on doing it and doing it, there has to be a reason why, and perhaps sometimes we have to take disciplinary measures in order to avoid that, because you lose a player in a key moment for rushing in and sliding. And then again, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, umpires, but yeah, well, you mentioned she was lucky there was no contact. If there was contact, could easily be a red card. I don't know if the intent, Gus, counts on this. What do you think?
Well, and I think there's 2 points to this, and she actually does make contact with her twice.
Yeah, actually, yes, she does.
Yeah, she does make contact with the left foot of the white player on the first slide, and then she's like, "Well, I didn't get you good enough, so let me just make sure you can't pass it."
I agree with you, Pablo. Okay. I was going to say, I agree with you, Pablo. I think as part of the training, it's very important that we, as coaches, we do not allow situations like this to pass by. And some coaches may say the player is aggressive, and some coaches might like that. But we must teach players that there must be control. Some players are very enthusiastic, and because of their enthusiasm, they work hard, and it's a matter of educating them on how to apply that enthusiasm, where and when. And sometimes punishment is a good method, allowing them to understand when especially players that love to be on the pitch. One of the worst things for them to do is to be on the pitch for something they've done wrong. But the explanation of it and the correction is very important.
Thank you, Peter. Yes. Diego, that in your international career, you probably encountered this. You surely encountered this. What would you say in terms of the technical foul or tactical foul to stop a counter-attack? I mean, not this evident that there's a clear intent of just disrupting the play. But sometimes as a tactic, stopping with a foul in order to cut a counter-attack happens. How do you manage situations like that?
Yes, I think in the first view, I thought it would be a tactical fault, but then I saw that the other teammates or the other defenders. So this is not a stopping a counterattack, but it could be a tactical fault. So we have to understand what they are trying to do, what the players are trying to do. And I'm not saying we have to understand them to give a second opportunity or a second chance, but we have to understand what they are doing or what they are trying to do to get the right decision. So if there is a tactical fault, we have to take the first one and give a warning or give a card if we have to. And the other thing I think is we have to deal with the frustration of the players. Sometimes we see players with frustration, and they do these kind of things for frustration also.
Thank you, Diego.
Yeah, Bill has an interesting point. Is look at the stick of the defender that's come in, and does she have any chance in or thought process of trying to play the ball based on where she's trying to go?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Pablo, can I add something?
Of course.
I think it's important for the coaches to know that we as an umpires, when we are umpiring in this kind of situations, one of the things that we try to identify and see is which kind of that player makes with this situation. I mean, is a high risk, is a medium risk, or is a low risk? So depending how we identify that situation is the color of the card that we are going to use to penalize that player. Because when we talk about risk, we talk about chances of injuries for the players, okay? And also we try to identify how big and is the impact on the game with that situation, that fall. So because Diego was talking about frustration of the players, and we can talk about this in case, for example, the black team, but I can also think about the frustration of the white team, thinking of the player, the umpire is not doing his or her job looking after the players, in terms of injuries and in terms of pushing, or because we all know that one of the jobs of the umpire on the field is to look after the integrity of the players. So if I don't, as an umpire, if I don't penalize properly this situation, I'm not doing my job. It's not only about to deal with the frustration of rotation, it's about to all the big scenario and trying to remember all the time the 60 minutes, what is my job on the pitch as an umpire. And one of them is to look after the players. So it's about the risk, it's about to look after the players and all of those things together. It's not only to see, okay, maybe it's a yellow card or maybe it's a red card. Okay, why is yellow? Why is red? Why maybe will never be green anyway? But it's just an example.
Thank you, Soles. Thank you. Well, any last thoughts or comments as well to add to what Sole was saying?
Yeah, okay. I think the only one thing I might add with and to agree with Sole is in respect of the liability of the umpires to ensure that the players are not damaged. And if an umpire is allowing that kind of play to go on, then the liability might shift to the umpires in terms of the damage that occurred to the player. So that they have to be careful in terms of that.
Thank you, Roger. Yes. And there's also a point that Bill is writing here. There's a need for more mental training of our players so that they are more prepared to perform effectively during aggressive situation. Yes, and also performing under pressure, especially that, the mental aspect of performing under pressure, that in 1 second we lose everything. I think that a perfect example was the game between Germany and New Zealand in the Olympic Games of 2016, that they turn around the game. And you watch Germany play that game, and it's like, they're getting eliminated by New Zealand. How is it possible they don't get nervous? And it was fantastic. Chiche, can you comment on that, please?
Well, there are a lot of one of the factors, the mentality of the caster, of the player, when they are accustomed to play in different way in their country, you know. And I think this is a game that we must be aggressive, but then we have to control the technique for getting the ball in possession again. Okay, and I think one of the factor that actually has a big impact is the speed of the game. The intensity of the game is incredible. It's incredible, and the player needs to learn that they have to be very, very aggressive, but with technique. In this case that we saw before, for example, I have to teach or to talk with the player and say, okay, after the player has the control of the ball, and when you pass through in the first tackle, right? How many chances do you have to get the ball in possession? How many chances? 5%? 10%? Stop. Try to use another technique. There is no chance to get the ball. It's plenty control of the opponent and covering with the body. There is no chance. Right. This is our responsibility, I think. Right. I think it's a good point, because the umpires has a big problem, because the speed of the game and the intensity of the game and how aggressive the top players are playing now have to interpret a lot of things in 1 second and take a decision. Okay, and there are also an additional point. The umpire has the ability, of course, to smell what happened in the game. If there is making a fall in many times because you are defending and 1-0 ahead, there are in the last 5 minutes, careful, control the team, because they are doing a lot of fault just to interrupt the game, right? And this is another situation which is the general environment of the game, right? But also, we as coaches say, okay, be careful, because if we make a fall, the short corner is very close, right? Take careful, take it easy and just try to control. And it's right, because it's a good combination. The pressure of the player for getting the ball may be quite similar of the pressure of the umpire how to blow up the game. When is a real and intentional fault to stop the game, or is a real fault just to get the ball, right? And so to say before. Anyway, that's very interesting point for me.
Thank you. So, talking about not having a lot of time to decide because of the speed of the game, guys, I'm going to jump to this play, and then we go to the penalty stroke and the penalty corner, okay? Because we are not going to have much more time to view the other plays.
Okay.
To me, this was a very confusing play, but fun to watch and to analyze. So we're going to jump straight to the question to the coaches and umpires. Is that correct, guys?
Yeah, and Whit has seen this one since he didn't get to see the last one. I forwarded this clip to him. And there's actually 2 views of this one as well. This first view is going to give one, and this led to a discussion that Pablo and I had earlier today as well. It's all on perspective and speed. So we're going to talk about it from the real-time aspect of looking at it from this view. And then I want to talk about it as we look at the video replay umpire and how that might change things. So if we'll go through here and go ahead and play this one.
I'm going to play it, and I'm going to start calling coaches. I call a coach and you call an umpire, so we can
Okay.
have a mixed reaction. So let's watch it one more time. Is this a replay? No. This is a real play, right? This is the first clip?
That's the first clip.
Okay, good. So I did it wrong. Jenna, if you're there, if you want to open up your microphone and share your point of view on this play.
I definitely think it was intentional with the defender coming from behind. And she took her feet out with her stick from the angle that I'm watching. I don't think that there's any reason for her to do that.
Okay, so if you were the player in white and you get a card, you would not complain about it.
No.
Okay, good. Thank you, Jenna. Gus, who are you calling?
Whit.
I'm watching this on my phone, so it's about that big. But I tend to agree with Jenna from this angle. I feel like I've seen this clip before, and I'm trying not to think about what I know from the video review. But from what we see from this angle, it certainly looks like a high risk, high reward move where the player's trying to do a shave tackle and is just coming in very high and takes the feet of the player in orange out. So I would be going for a yellow card right there.
Okay.
And I think there's something that as we go to the coaches on the next part is we've talked about this when we had the player that went down for a penalty stroke. Roger also came in and said we have the responsibility that is to protect the players. And here's that very next sequence, and this match is 1 week later. And what's interesting is this ended up being just a free hit. And as a player, and maybe we go back to Jenna or one of the other players, how do you feel if you're this player that's wearing the 13 in orange? How do you, what's your reaction as the one that's taken the brunt of that's been taken down to turf?
We can ask Carly. She's a player as well. Carly?
Yeah. Carly can't
I
see it.
can't see the video.
Really?
It's just paused on like her laying on the ground. It just looks like a picture.
Okay, let me see. I'm restarting the screen sharing. What do you see now?
It doesn't say that you're screen sharing.
Hold on. Give me just 1 minute, please. Less than a minute.
The other thing to note is, like the penalty stroke or the goalkeeper taking out the attack player, pay attention to the reaction of everybody else around the pitch and the reactions.
Is it showing now, Carly?
No, I still can't see it.
How about the rest? Gus,
No.
are you seeing it?
No.
You're not seeing it?
No.
Okay. Gus, can you share it from your screen then? Because I'm having
Let me see if I can find
a problem
it.
with my computer, apparently, or my software. See it. It's like some people can see it and some other cannot.
Give me a second here. I need to download it to myself.
Okay. I'm going to keep on trying on the meantime.
Here we go. Nope, no longer receiving.
It was playing before?
It started to.
I'm restarting everything, so hold on. Laura, ¿se ve ahora o no?
Sí.
Yep.
Yeah.
Carly, Dwayne. Carly, do you see it now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Oh, good. Okay, go ahead.
What was
Okay,
the
have a
question
look.
again?
Gus, you
Put
had a
yourself,
question for her.
Carly, put yourself in this attack player's shoes, and with regards to feeling like the umpires are protecting you, you get dumped like this by the player, but what's your thought process, not just after the foul, but beyond this, beyond this particular instance?
Well, if I was the player in orange and a girl did that to me personally, I would be like really upset about it because like you can see that the player is trying to like shave the ball kind of, but instead she like got under her feet and then the player seems to be like hurt by it.
Okay, thank you, Carly. Gus, go ahead, ask one umpire, and then we go to a second angle.
But Whit kind of gave his view on this one, so
Okay,
let's go ahead to the second angle.
Okay, let's stay with Carly then. Look at this angle, Carly, now, and tell me your thoughts about this. If anything changes, or if you still feel the same way.
I still see the same angle as last video.
Okay, this is, hold on. About now?
No.
No, I can't see it.
I really don't know what's happening. Generally, it doesn't have problem. Gus, can you share that from your screen?
I need to, let's see, how do I do this? I sent it to you in an email, right? Yeah. Bear with me a quick second. Foul second. Okay. Getting it here. Let me make sure it's playing. Okay. Got it. Does everybody see the screen?
Blue screen, yes.
Blue.
ACCN.
There we go.
Yes.
She is attempting to go in and shave. However, looks like she's a little off.
The frame rate's a little bit choppy on our side, Gus. It's
Turn off your camera, Gus, to see if it plays smoother.
Well, good idea, because I don't like seeing me either.
neither do we.
Well, I knew your answer to that.
Are you playing it? Ah, there we go. Better. Okay, you might have Gus to explain what happens actually, because it's going frame by frame.
Okay, let me try. I've got two other things open that I'm going to try and shut down. I figure out where my resource hog is. What's happened is that the player that we saw hauling tail towards that attack player coming inside the 25, we see her beelining in, and this is the absolute reverse angle of what we've seen. And we see her coming in to try and make the tackle. The ball is already beyond where she's trying to put her stick. And so the attack player is actually taken down because when the defensive player comes in, misses the shave, she starts to raise up on the stick. And she ends up stepping on it.
So, Gus, what do you think about the call? Or some of the umpires, what do you guys think about this play?
Ridge, does this change your view of things?
Not particularly. The problem I had with it from the beginning was the direction she's coming from. She's not running necessarily in parallel to the player or running in the same path as the player. She's running at a perpendicular line. She's either gonna take the player out or get the ball cleanly, and obviously she did not. As you said earlier, she gave her a much closer look to the 25-yard line than she expected.
Yeah. And from a penalty standpoint, let's go with the coaches, what your expectations are, both as the attacking team's coach and the defending team's coach, because sometimes that does cause difference on which side you're coaching. Pablo, do you have a coach in mind?
No. Open up. Which coach wants to participate? Go ahead.
Hi, Pablo.
Go.
Ralph Watson here. I'm slightly confused. Confused in the sense that I don't quite understand why the player in white would have made such a tackle in that position. From the other view, you would have realized that the defense had very good position. So I'm not sure why that particular type of tackle was made, and someone alluded to it earlier. If you want to shave properly, she should run in the same direction as the attacker, but she ran across, and obviously that would have impeded her. From a coaching standpoint, that obviously will not be encouraged. Obviously, I don't see any communication there from the defensive unit. And if a penalty corner was awarded against me as a defensive coach, I would not have too much quarrel on that. But it seems legitimate because I see no reaction at all from none of the players, only the team in orange paying some sympathy towards their fallen player. But the team in white doesn't seem to have any qualms about such a tackle inside the defensive 25. So I'm slightly confused to what type of what is really happening. From that, for me, as I said, if a penalty corner was awarded against me as the coach of the white, I wouldn't have too much quarrel. I won't have much quarrel on it.
What about wearing the other side colors
As the attacking side?
Yeah.
I would expect a penalty corner. The attacking player did absolutely nothing wrong. She's trying to go. She's very good possession of the ball. I'm probably looking, as you can see, her head is listed. She's looking for her players. And she did the right things. I would encourage that from attacking's point of view. And no qualms at all. That's a penalty corner from my point of view.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. Gus, any umpire you want to ask?
We got Ridge. So yeah, and Witt took the other angle. So I think.
Yeah, I still think like this, I would wonder like just exactly what kind of card people are expecting on this one too. Just because, I don't think this is simply just a penalty corner.
No, it's not.
As the defensive coach, I hope I don't get a card, but it is a card, and that is the captain of the side. Cause I see the captain band on her leg. She was the leader on the field. So I think that's a horrendous tackle from the leader of the field. But if I'm the defensive coach, I would pray that the umpire wouldn't give me a card. But if one is given, I wouldn't object to it.
Okay, thank you very much, Gus. We are on time, so we will have to do the other ones on another session, perhaps. Laura is sending here the feedback form for you to spend just 5 minutes completing that. It helps us to improve. I would like to ask Roger if you want to say some closing words.
I think, thank you very much, Pablo. I think it's always a pleasure for me to see the interaction or discussion among umpires, players, and the coaches, because it's for the benefit of the hockey, because all are stakeholders of the game. And if all the stakeholders in the game understand what they're doing, it makes the game a very emotional and inspiring experience for the spectators, because you promote the game in a harmonious way. So this exercise goes a long way for all of us to understand each other's role on the field of play. So thank you very much for being a part of this, and I hope we have much more these kind of exchanges in the future.
Thank you, Roger, for those words. TJ?
Well, I agree 100% with Roger. It's a very good interaction between coaches and players and umpires. This is a good because it's communication and working as a team. I think as much as we understand the behavior of the umpire, and as much as the umpire understands the behavior of the player and the behavior of the coach, we can improve the game surely. I think thank you Laura, thank you Pablo, and thank you Gus for this good webinar. Thank you, and all of you for participating, of course.
Yes, thank you everybody for being here. We had people from many countries and backgrounds, same age groups, different age groups, so very happy to listen to everybody. Thank you guys. It's always a pleasure to work with you. Hope we continue doing more of this. Laura, thank you. Or
thank you. Yeah, thank you, Pablo, and Gus for being creative and bringing something different to our people. We didn't have this before the Jamaican course, the Jamaican workshop you prepared. So I think it's very good to have different options for our people. Please, for the participants, take the 2 minutes to fill in the form. It's really good for us to learn from you. You can do it anonymous, so feel free to write whatever you want. good things,
Well,
please.
that's
I'm
it
joking.
from us.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Chiche, Roger, and all of you that have been interacting with the facilitators. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody. Good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for your help with this, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Bye, Sole. Thank you.
Hey, say hi to my sister real quick.
Ya no. Ya lo saqué. I dropped Bill because he was not leaving.
Okay, good. What do you think, Gus and Pablo, about the seminar? How was it?
You're on mute.
Yeah, I saw that. I liked the part that we had different backgrounds, different nationalities, different experience, and different ages. And we made everybody participate, almost everybody. Some of them I wasn't sure. I tried to read the Excel file, but you know.
Deja de grabar, Laura.
Some of them were shy, like Kenshi from Panama. She's very inexperienced.
Yeah, but for instance, the 4 girls that Bill brought, they're young. They're 17, 16 years old, and they had a good participation. And the
Yes,
same
but
with the 2 guys from
they
Jamaica.
are from Panama. They don't even have a tournament there.
No, I know. Gus, what are your thoughts?
Would I like the technical side to go better? Of course. But one of the things that I do like about this is that we encourage others to speak. We go to them. We reinforce